Hello, Internet. Welcome to episode 377 of the Assorted Calibers podcast, the Second Amendment podcast. There's a little bit for everyone. I'm Weer'd, and with me tonight, she's, of course, always the greatest hostess in the entire universe, Erin Paulette. How you doing, Erin?
I grieve for the future of our species.
I mean, it's only got so much time left as far as how species just grow and decline.
Sweet meteor of death can't come fast enough.
Yeah.
Anyway, how are you doing, Weer'd? And did you use the present I've gotten for you?
So I have a message from my wife. She said, "Tell Erin the light works." I was showing her how it worked, and I mean, I'm not quite a flashlight nerd, but I'm getting there. And so it's one of those, like, I tried it on and I'm like, this is a perfectly adequate light, but it's not like some of my other lights. I do not flick the lamp and suddenly it's noon and I forgot to wear sunscreen. Oh, my nose is a little peely now from my flashlight. But no, I accidentally blasted her with the with the light, and she's like, "Yep, it works. I'm seeing purple spots."
I mean, I have to wonder how powerful your flashlights are. I don't remember the lumen of that one, but it's pretty intense.
It is pretty intense. But yeah, it's probably in probably close to like the 500 lumen range. But
I'm sorry. I didn't realize you were a lumen queen.
I like it. My daughter thinks I look ridiculous when I'm wearing it.
So according to the Amazon page, it's 8,000 lumens.
8,000? Really?
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Well, that would explain how angry my wife is. Either way, it's marvelous. I actually just used it about an hour ago when I was taking out the kitchen garbage.
Yes, that's exactly why I got it for you, because you mentioned taking out the garbage you had trouble seeing.
Yep, and this way I've got my hands free so I can scrape all the gloopity gloop out, and yeah, it works out good.
Good.
And my backyard critters also thank you because they could eat the garbage.
Yeah, I like getting presents for people that they then use and enjoy. Like, when I got y'all those knot cards, it wasn't very long after that Xander sent me a couple of screenshots of him actually using it because he had to snake some sort of a tube under a vehicle. I mean, it was car repair. I don't know. But what he decided to do was he would get a length of string where it needed to go, and he would tie it around the tube or whatever, and then pull it into place so that he wouldn't have to try and force the tube. Mm-hmm. And he told me that the card I gave him worked out great, and there was a picture of him. Well, actually, it's not a picture of him, but there's the card showing, it's like, this is how you tie a constrictor knot. And, he's tied it in place and he's used it. It's like, oh, that's exactly what I wanted to hear. You had a need and something I gave you fixed that need. That's fantastic.
Yep. And I'll tell you right now, I absolutely love the little Kershaw tool that you got us all for the keychain, because I've had the little Gakota, mini knife with, multi-tool attached to it. And it's a great tool, but I just was always paranoid that someday I'm going to fly and I'd take it off a week before I would leave just to make sure that I don't lose this thing to the TSA. And now I've got just a thing that it's, it doesn't have the little blade that's honestly, since I don't ever use it, it's not sharpened nearly enough, anyway, and all that. But it is TSA approved, And I know that because every single time it goes through security, it gets flagged, they look at it, and it gets approved.
Well, good. I mean, I know that it said TSA approved, but I was sitting here going, I don't know about that. But if they take it, you're not going to be out a whole lot.
Yeah, no, there's been at least 5 times where they've dug it out of my bag and had gone through.
Well, good.
And then cut my privates.
Did you maintain eye contact the whole time?
Oh, always. And my standard line, are there any sensitive places on your body? Only my Fourth Amendment rights. And sometimes I get to just explain to them on the fact that, guess what? I don't want to go through this. But if I don't go through this, I'm going to miss my flight. So I want to go on my flight. That's the only reason why I'm here. So getting on my flight is my number one priority. Therefore, I'm waiving my rights. But it is by definition under duress.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so speaking of duress here at Weer'd, I knew that we were going to talk about this. I knew before I even looked at the show notes we were going to talk about it. I don't want to talk about this, but I know we're going to, and I have feelings. I have very strong feelings about this, but probably not the feelings you think I have.
Okay.
So we might as well just do this thing and get it done.
Yes, so there was a shooting in Minneapolis. I think everyone has heard about it. And I honestly didn't want to talk too much about it. It just simply was, there's obviously some issues with immigration going on up there. I will let you decide how you feel about that. But a team was conducting some sort of raid investigation or something like that, and there have been groups of people that are following them around and harassing them. And at one point, this woman, Renee Good, was blocking a road. They got approached by the ICE agents. One of them essentially initiated, I assume it's probably was a Terry stop at that point in time, and told her to get out of the car. And she instead hit the gas, hit another agent. That agent, I believe it was that same agent, opened fired and fatally hit her. And there's way more to it than that, but I really don't want to dwell on it. I just want all the people who are listening who are going, it wasn't like that, to go, yes, I know. Yeah. It was far more complicated. I'm actually not sure. I wasn't sure if the person who was hit shot her or if his partner who was close to the driver's side door did it. Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. There's a bunch of stuff. Everyone's kind of dressed the same and all that. And it was not one agent that fired on the car. The only thing I wanted to talk about, again, because this is like super politically charged on all that, but I really just wanted to advise, really just for everybody's safety. And if there's people in your circle that might need to hear this, is yes, an automobile is a deadly weapon on both sides. Is one of those we've talked about it before. If someone's attacking you while you're in a car, don't go for your gun, go for your car. It can get you away, and it'll hit a whole lot harder than anything that's in your magazine. But also, but at the same way, you can hit a spree killer with your car, but also it's no different than trying to hit a police officer with your car is no different than pointing a gun at him, and that's ill-advised. And the other piece of advice is, at this point in time, like if the police are making an illegal arrest of you, you believe that you are absolutely in your right, let them be compliant, get yourself cuffed, get yourself arrested, get yourself booked in, and then contact your lawyer or get a lawyer assigned to you and point out all the legal mistakes that are going on, and chances are you will get paid. So see if it's instead of seeing that wrongful arrest with escalation and violence, see it as that winning lottery ticket.
Okay, so get comfortable. I'm going to get up on my soapbox. So we've been hearing for at least 5 years now, and the sentiment actually goes back to like 1979, that all cops are bastards. And what I want to know is, and I'm not specifically singling out Nicole Good for this, she is unfortunately a victim of this mentality. I just want to know why. If people earnestly believe that all cops are bastards, and that ICE specifically is American Gestapo, and that it's filled with brutes who just want to bully people, falsely imprison people, deport them. I mean, I've even heard about being complicit in genocide. If you think that law enforcement in general and ICE in specific are these kinds of monsters, why would you think it's a good idea to antagonize them? Now, Nicole didn't, but her wife sure did. She got in their faces. She was insulting to them. And I don't understand why they would think this is a good idea. It seems to me that the sensible position would be to, in your mind, go, it doesn't matter if I believe that ICE doesn't have jurisdiction over me, because a bastard cop won't care about jurisdiction. And since I believe all cops are bastards, anything I do is going to get me hurt or imprisoned or killed. Therefore, I'm going to keep as much distance between myself and armed federal thugs as possible. This is the thinking that I would have. And I think this is very logical thinking, but this isn't what's happening. And because of this, lives are ruined and families are changed, and the world is quantifiably a worse place because some people don't have the common sense of a garden snail. And that gets me to my second point here, in that we are now living in a society where some people think that, I've got it written down here. I couldn't, this is not off the cuff. That avoiding risk makes you not just a coward, but you're complicit. That if you think in terms of consequences, that you are betraying the cause, that, that risk is virtue, and that outcomes don't matter if the narrative is righteous. And that's not how the world works. The world works in very brutal and simplistic terms, and it doesn't matter how morally or ethically right you are if you're dead. And this leads me to my final point. There has been, I feel like calling it propaganda is giving it too much justice. So I'm going to say this as strongly as I possibly can without resorting to swearing that Weer'd will have to censor. But there are, I can't, Okay, I'm going to be talking about the propagandists. And I'm going to do something I hardly ever do. And I'm going to dehumanize them, and I'm going to call them absolute filth. And here's why I say that. They are spreading deliberate misinformation that is getting people killed. This misinformation, all you have to do is a little bit of Googling and you can find out that they're wrong. These are the ones who are saying that ICE can't arrest you if you're an American citizen. The hell they can't. There's going to be a link in the show notes to 8 U.S. Code 1357, Powers of Immigration Officers and Employees. Okay, they don't go out and solve crimes, but they are federal law enforcement. And if they see a felony happening in front of them, they're going to do something about it. It's not like, a highway patrol is going to be at a place of a mass shooting and go, well, this isn't highway related, I'm not going to get involved. No, you get involved. It's just It's a matter of what you go and seek out for your job. And so I'm seeing and hearing all these things online about how ICE isn't real law enforcement and they can't affect you if you're not an immigrant, and it's not true. And I'm convinced that the people who are spreading this know that it's not true, and they are spreading something that they know is false because they want people dead, because that way they have martyrs for the cause, and then they can write more propaganda that's written in the blood of their victims, the victims that were killed with the propagandists' lies. I realize that some people are going to think that I am a ranting lunatic conspiracy theorist about this, but it really, truly bothers me, because there's one of two things going on here. Either people are so incredibly stupid that they don't do their basic due diligence before making a political post, or they are trying to deliberately manipulate people into dangerous situations that furthers their cause. And I'm just enough of a cynic to believe the second. The first wouldn't especially surprise me, but I think it's the second. Because I know how some people, and I'm not saying the left, but I'm saying that there are a lot of professional agitators who love to dance in blood. And we've seen it with gun control, and we're seeing it here. And so what happens is that there's this movement who has told people that it is safe and it is righteous to confront armed federal agents. And this woman did so, and then she spurred on her wife to drive. I mean, she said it with a sense of urgency, drive, baby, drive. Maybe Nicole Good was scared. I don't know. But she was killed. And now this exact same movement is using her death to intensify the story that sent her there. And this destroys lives. It destroys family. It destroys the possibility of learning. It destroys our society. I am really, really sick of this. I hate it. And I don't know what can be done about it. But that's why I said I legitimately worry about our future as a species, because if you cannot comprehend first order events, you are not going to have a long and successful life. You are probably going to have a short and painful life, and your passage will hurt the people who love you. So, oh my God, please. I'm not saying don't protest ICE. If you've got your reasons to do it, do it. I'm just saying do it safely. Don't believe the lies. Protest from a safe distance. Do not make yourself a target to officers. If you truly believe that they're violent, stay away from them. That's all. Because otherwise, more people are going to die, and I don't want people to die. I know a lot of people think that I'm a jerk, but I really don't want people to die. But I just have this really, really nasty feeling that this is going to escalate, and a lot more people are going to die, and things are only going to get worse. And so just this is my, I'm begging you, please use common sense and protect yourself, and don't antagonize people with guns who have already been trained to regard people as a threat. That's all I'm asking. Thank you.
Yeah. No, I agree, Aaron, both in your sentiment and the level of emotion behind it. Again, first up, I will say you're like, is this propaganda or is this ignorance? And I would say it's both. Is people start the ball rolling, those are the propagandists, and then certain people will eat it up and repost it and expand on it. Mm-hmm. And to couple it back with something else to also show kind of a level of widespread nature to it is I talk all the time about the murder of Jordan Davis, is that his killer talked to them, went back to his car. Again, always a bad thing when you have to go someplace to retrieve your gun and then return to where the danger is. It's very similar to your idea, is if you think the police are dangerous, why are you up in their face and playing loud noises and things like that? Like, they're being annoying. Like, that's not as a parent of a teenager. You don't want to be annoyed. That's when you start making mistakes. And but the he went back to the place and with a gun shot at them and then left the scene and essentially didn't do anything until police showed up and then said, "Oh, there was a shotgun in the van and I was afraid for my life." And you know for a fact that he had it in his mind that was the magic word that you just say, "I was feared for my life. I thought I saw a gun. I was standing my ground," whatever, these various things. And I get away with it. That means I get to kill whoever I want and no one charges me. And that's not coming from Second Amendment trainers. That's not coming from 2A podcasts. That's not coming from, the gun tubers. That's coming from the anti-gun groups. The anti-gun groups are the ones that call carry permits license to murder and call stand your ground, get out of jail free card and all of that. And he had heard those sort of things and he was ignorant enough to believe them and run with it. And it got a young man killed and it got him. He's going to die in prison. He didn't get a life sentence, but he was in his 60s when he shot him. And so he's not going to live through this and all that. So essentially 2 lives were lost and Lucy McBath became the director for Everytown, thanks to being a gun violence victim, even though she wasn't even in the same state. And now she is the congresswoman from Georgia. Is that a coincidence? Maybe. Do I think so? I'll right now say no, I don't think so. I think these sort of things, there are certain people, not everybody, but there are certain people that are happy and excited when they hear that there is a spree killing. They're happy and excited when they hear someone is murdered and it is, say, "Oh, a white person shot a black person." That's useful and that's disgusting. And I'm seeing some of that going on there. And so, yeah, Aaron, I'm entirely with you. We need to have leveler heads here because there are definitely people that are going to gain politically from this woman's death, and you don't want to be the pawn in a chess match. Well, can we switch gears?
Please.
Yeah. So this one's another bad news, but also good news. The bad news, and again, this is another political issue. I'm not gonna dive into it. ACP has no particular stance on the politics of Iran, but there's, who knows, by the time you're hearing this, there might be some changes going on over there. That certainly things are heating up, and there's lots of protests in the street of Iran itself, but also in areas that have Iranian immigrants, and one of those is Los Angeles. And so there was a bunch of Iranian immigrants and families of Iranian immigrants. Many of them call themselves Persian because they are so disenfranchised with the country that is known as Iran now. And they were protesting against the current Iranian regime. And somebody drove a U-Haul truck through the protest. And I saw the video of this happening. And I was just like, oh my God, like how many people are dead? This reminded me very much of the truck attack in Nice, or there was a guy who took a pickup truck down a walking path in New York City a few years ago. And that's this awful. And then it turned out, no, it was a couple of injuries. Doesn't even sound like there were severe injuries. And no deaths. So thank goodness for that. Absolutely. That is incredible. That is wonderful. But also, and so far we haven't heard anything about motives. The police did find the drivers of this truck and they are in custody. what happens with them from there is unknown. What was their motive? I don't know.
Well, I can tell you, well, not with certainty, but so this U-Haul had a banner attached to it, and it was the banner said "No Shah, no regime, USA, don't repeat 1953, no mullah," and that's talking about the 1953 coup where the United States removed the Prime Minister Mossadegh of Iran and replaced him with the Shah and things like that. And so this is very likely someone who approves of the current Iranian regime, and that's why he targeted the people that were protesting against the regime and in favor of the resistance. So that's why I think it happened. I mean, it's not definitive proof, but it's a whole lot of really compelling circumstantial evidence.
Yeah.
But yeah, as you said, no one was killed, and only about one person was hit by a truck, but no one was seriously hurt. 2 people were evacuated by paramedics, and both declined treatment. So, I mean, short of not being hit at all, that was the best outcome for them, and so really glad that they weren't hurt.
Yeah, especially. Did you see the videos of this?
I did not, but I recall reading somewhere. I don't know if it was here or not, but oh yeah, here it is. But when the U-Haul got stopped, I'm kind of surprised that the protesters didn't beat the crap out of the driver, a la Reginald Denny, because they were throwing punches at him through his window, and they were apparently thrusting flagpoles through his driver's side window. So he definitely poked the bee's nest, and I'm surprised he wasn't stung to death.
Yeah, that is also true. But yeah, no, it really reminded me of the Nice truck attack, with just all those people in one tight spot and the truck just going through. And so again, I'm glad nobody was severely hurt. Like, it's especially good on the declined. If I broke my arm and an EMT showed up and say, "What do you want to do?" I would say, "Get my butt to the hospital so we can get this thing back together." So yeah, this was a, as you said, the absolute best outcome of such a horrible situation. And so I intentionally put this last story last, just so we can get out of the muck of people being horrible to other people.
As a sorbet to cleanse the palate.
Yes. I think it was Jeff. No, it was Bill Engvall was saying, "Well, my palate's never been cleansed before. It must be absolutely filthy." Yes, and so this is the California's ban on openly carrying guns is unconstitutional, says the appeals court. So, yeah, that's this is again the Ninth Circuit has ruled that it is unconstitutional for California to have a ban on open carry, and so that's absolutely awesome. It's a good precedent. Of course, this only pertains to California. I'm trying to think of what states don't still have bans on open carry, because you guys got rid of it in Florida.
Yep.
And they got rid of it in Texas. So I'm not really sure which other states. Massachusetts, it's always been legal to open carry here, but your permit would get taken away, and supposedly they can't take your permit away for that anymore. I'm not attempting that. I don't want to be the test case for that. But yeah, so this is good news. I will also say, for the trivia and bipartisan nature of this, was that the open carry ban in California was put forward by Ronald Reagan. It was later amended because essentially you couldn't open carry a loaded gun, and so that meant that Californians could indeed open carry a empty pistol with loaded magazines on their belt. And so in the event that they needed the gun, they could draw the gun, draw a magazine, load the firearm. which is not ideal, but it's better than harsh language. And because the essentially gun culture 2.0, suddenly people being a lot more concerned about personal safety and carrying guns, a lot more people started carrying guns. So California did the California thing and amended the rules that essentially just said you can't open carry at all. So this is good news, especially since their concealed carry permit system is really taking a crap. People are taking over a year to get renewals through.
I am looking up your question here.
Okay.
Regarding open carry. All right. I mean, there's Wikipedia, but it can be edited by anyone, so I don't consider it an authoritative source. I treat it the same way as I treat AI. I'm here at USCCA, but they still have Florida being listed as open carry not allowed, so they're not up to date. Let's see what Everytown has to say. They might get it right. I didn't think this was going to be that difficult, but apparently it is.
Well, we could just cut it out.
Yeah. But in an unofficial capacity here, I would say the ones that don't allow open carry are Hawaii, California, New York, and all of that cluster of New England states. Actually, I know that's not New England. Maryland, and you know what I mean, though.
Yes.
And probably Illinois. That would be my guess. I assume we're talking about open carry of pistols, not open carry of long guns. That's different.
I mean, I think overall it's kind of both, because I know that the California ban was actually put forward because of the open carry. It was the Black Panthers were protesting, and they were open carrying long guns because they couldn't get because of California's May issue system. They couldn't get carry permits for pistols, so they were carrying shotguns and rifles.
Well, also, this was during the civil rights era, and a lot of black people were being harmed. And so it wasn't just carrying because we want to carry. It was carrying to protect themselves and members of their community.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
And so, this being the racist 60s, government decided they didn't like that, and so we'll make it outlawed. And that's one reason we got GCA 68. I mean, part of another was the Kennedy assassination and maybe other stuff too. I don't know.
I don't want to dig into that rabbit hole, but yes. For sure, other stuff.
But getting back to the topic at hand, I agree with you. This is good news. But I'm a cynic, and I have to ask, what does it fudging matter? Because we literally have a Supreme Court ruling on firearm carry laws in the state of New York. And the state of New York has not only not remedied this, they've doubled down and made it worse. And we're coming up on 4 years since the Bruin decision, and New York State is defying SCOTUS. So just because an appeals court says that open carry is unconstitutional in California, so what? It doesn't mean California is going to do anything about it. They'll find a way, I think, to drag their feet, dig their heels in, and fight it for as long as possible.
Well, I will say, as far as that goes, something eventually is going to have to give, and when I say something's going to have to give, I'm not even necessarily talking about Second Amendment. Obviously, the Clarence Thomas's wonderful line about it being a second-class right is spot on. Is the fact that people are getting away with doing things around the Second Amendment that they would never even bother to do around any of the other amendments, and so what may happen, though, is some other case will come through, and the losing side will just simply do the sore loser thing and not follow the court order, and the end result of that will someone's going to come up with a remedy. We had Ben Blatt on ages ago after Bruin to talk about that, and noted that there's nothing right now, like the founding fathers never envisioned somebody getting a state being ruled against on the Supreme Court and having them just simply say, no, we'll do it this way. So again, we've talked about it before. One of the easier ways is kind of the standard issue federal cudgel, which is just hey, we've got this money that we give to states so they can maintain the interstate highway system. We're not doing it anymore. There's also, national education funds and things like that. There's all sorts of federal funds that keep the wheels turning in the states that could be withheld until they comply. So that time will tell what's going on, but as I like to say, something will have to give at some point. It's not just going to go on forever. It's either going to be someone's going to put some teeth on the Second Amendment cases, and that's going to be the line in the sand, or it's going to be somebody's going to piss somebody else off not complying with a different ruling that is on completely different grounds, and then we will be handed a tool that we can use to affect our rulings.
See, here's one of the key differences between you and me. You say something is going to give, and you view it as positive. I hear something's got to give, and I think of it in the most negative way possible.
I mean, that option of the something's going to give, we're going to burn it all down and start over is always in the cards. So but you're correct. I choose to think about that about as little as I possibly can.
Yeah. By the way, my particular term for that, burning it all down and starting over, I call that the Etch-a-Sketch reboot.
Ooh. Oh,
thank you.
That is good. That is good, especially when you know how the old school Etch-a-Sketches. I think they're still making them. But yeah, those old school Etch-a-Sketches, you didn't have to shake them gently. It was definitely this is how you properly mix a shaken cocktail.
Uh-huh.
Let's not get to that point. Let's change course before it gets that dire.
On that we agree.
Yeah. That's similar to during the defund the police situation, is one of those like, well, I totally understand and I totally get it, and there's definitely need for some police reforms, but you guys know that police aren't just there for arresting the criminals, they're also there for protecting the criminals. There's a reason why the gang areas are always the most dangerous parts of a city, because those people can't call the police. So instead they take matters into their own hands, and that's never pretty.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've had just about enough of current events, and so let's get a little bit more lighthearted in the fact that we called Oddball out again. And so here he is back, this time to discuss the lawsuit of NRA versus the NRA.
Welcome to Oddball's Corner Pocket. In episode 376, Weer'd and Aaron asked me to talk about not one, but two things. The first was what the heck the deal is with the National Switchblade Act. That one will take some time and alcohol. The second was the NRA filed a lawsuit against the NRA Foundation. That'll take less time and will only cause a headache instead of rage. So let's talk about that one. I'll get around to the other one later. The first question most people have is, why is there different organizations called the NRA and the NRA Foundation? This is largely one of those because taxes things that makes my head hurt. For the record, regardless of what Weer'd and Aaron say, I'm even less of a financial expert than I am a lawyer. The NRA is a 501c4 nonprofit. By statute definition, this means that it shall be focused on, quote, the common good and general welfare of the people. They're even allowed to participate in politics as long as it's not their primary purpose, which explains the existence of the NRA ILA, which is specifically for lobbying. One of the big downsides of a 501c4 is that donations made to it are not tax deductible. That's where the NRA Foundation comes in. It's a 501c3, which means that donations to it are tax deductible. This money is then to be used to support the shooting sports, firearms training, safety programs like the NRA's Eddie Eagle program, etc. Incidentally, if you've ever given to or attended an event by the Friends of the NRA, that's the NRA Foundation. So why the heck is the NRA suing the foundation? Put simply, it's about control and further fallout from the recent shakeup in the leadership at the NRA. Fortunately, a good amount of this is explained by the NRA in their lawsuit filing. First, they claim that the Foundation's Board of Trustees is largely made up of the NRA's old guard. The same people that were either complicit with or ran cover for Wayne LaPierre, as LaPierre mishandled millions of dollars at the NRA and wasn't stopped until the AG of New York sued the NRA for failure to follow its 501c4 charter. The NRA then claims that the Foundation's trustees have worked to separate the Foundation from the core NRA organization. Among other things, they claim that the trustees attempted to remove a provision that allowed the NRA to appoint the directors of the foundation. Allegedly, there are other ways that the foundation has tried to separate itself from the NRA to be a standalone organization that stands as a competitor to the NRA, along the same lines as the GOA or the Second Amendment Foundation. Finally, the NRA is accusing the foundation of using the funds that it raises for purposes other than what the donors are being told. This is, of course, a disturbing accusation, since people would be rather upset if they found out their donations at a Friends of the NRA dinner are not going to support high school shooting teams, Eddie Eagle, or the like. All of this while using the NRA's branding, which obviously causes people to believe they're working with the NRA proper. So, now for the hard question. Do I believe that this is happening? Maybe? There's definitely reasons to believe it's happening. The Board of Trustees is currently appointed by the NRA, and there is a requirement that the majority of them also be on the board of the NRA. This means that there's a decent chance of the trustees to be part of the old guard, given how recently the members of the reform movement have taken over the NRA. Additionally, good friend of the show, John Richardson, has done an excellent job of documenting the recent wave of resignations of longtime board members at the NRA, including a number that are also trustees of the foundation. I highly recommend you read his blog over at Only Guns and Money. If I were the old guard, it would make sense to try to remove the provision that the NRA appoints foundation trustees. After all, the NRA's board would now be considered controlled by the enemy, and my position as a trustee would be threatened. As for the money part, that one's much harder for me to determine. Although I would say it wouldn't take much convincing to make me believe that the same people that were playing games with money at the NRA are now playing games with money at the foundation while they're still in control there. Incidentally, I would like to point out that currently on the NRA Foundation's website, they are advertising their annual National Firearms Law Seminar, which always occurs at the NRA annual meeting, but they're not advertising it as actually happening at the annual meeting. I do have to admit some bias. As stated, John Richardson is a good friend of the show, and I believe both he and his wife are wonderful people. He is also one of the reformers on the NRA's board, and has been a force for some serious change there. Speaking of which, I would say that I would love to get John on the show to talk about this. He is definitely more knowledgeable about this subject. Of course, he's also too smart to do anything except point at the NRA's press release on the lawsuit and declare, "I can't comment further on the subject." So I don't think that'll happen. I hope that this was entertaining and that you learned something. If you'd like to know more of my thoughts, I write at gunscarstech.com. If you have any comments, questions, or suggestions for future segments, I can be reached at oddball@gunscarstech.com. I'm also a regular on Handgun Radio and can be found lurking on the Assorted Calibers and Handgun Radio Facebook group. Until next time, have a good one.
So one of the upsides of the NRA and why I'm glad it didn't die when this whole Wayne LaPierre fiasco was going on is it's just such a massive org. Again, it's the 500-pound gorilla. It's very imposing to lawmakers and such, and it has so much to it that it is really kind of a one-stop shop for if you're looking for something Second Amendment related. But that means that it's also lumbering and slow to move, and you have convoluted BS like this packed into it.
I really don't have anything to add other than the fact that I thought I also called Oddball out on investment advice, and he didn't answer.
Yes. Well, he said that was something else to handle at another time.
No, that was something about switchblades.
Oh, that's true. That's a switchblades. Yeah, I think he's just saying yes. He does not want to be a financial advisor.
I mean, I just want to say that I've got either AMC or GameStop stock that I bought right when the whole Wall Street bets thing was taking off, and I want to know what I should do with it.
I'll tell you right now, as your financial advisor, Aaron, I'd say convert that all to Hawk to a coin.
So what you're saying is that it's worthless, and I'd just be trading it in for slightly better aesthetic of worthless.
Yeah, I think I think the company's completely dissolved. So yeah, that's you're essentially holding on to Confederate dollars right now.
Oh well. Like I spent a whole lot on them though. That's okay.
Yeah, I don't know if you could get the stock certificates printed up. That might be cool. It's like I was fixing a chair and I flipped it over to one of the leg posts fell out. So I was hammering it back in and I looked down, and down at the stencil on the bottom of the chair, it said product of Yugoslavia. And I called my daughter over. Look, it's a country that doesn't exist anymore.
Okay, so in this segment, David talks about 3D printing COVID.
Hi, and welcome to Gun Lovers and Other Strangers. In previous episodes, as well as on numerous blooper reels, Oddball and I have talked about different aspects of 3D printing. Everything from selecting a printer to printing functional firearm parts. In this segment, I'd like to take this discussion in a slightly different direction and look at 3D printed targets and target accessories. While anything 3D printed can be used as a target, a fate many of my failed prints have met, there are a number of designs that are either specifically intended for that use or can easily be repurposed. For example, several years ago, Oddball found a COVID virus design we could use as targets. We printed several copies in brightly colored PLA+, and I had fun blowing them up on my home range. They made for good reactive targets and, depending on the caliber used, actually took a few hits before coming completely apart. The creator of this design included files for both printing the parts individually and with a sprue like a classic plastic model kit. An interesting entry I found on printables is for a self-healing target. This one is intended to be printed in TPU, which is somewhat more flexible than PLA+. As the creator of this design stated in the description, not quite as good as a commercial self-healing target, but it works. When printed in PLA+, it doesn't work nearly as well. After only a few shots, it had some good-sized chunks knocked out of the target body. Once I get some practice printing with TPU, I'll give it another try. There are a number of other targets and target-like designs on Thingiverse, printables, and similar sites. Most of the actual targets are intended for airsoft or Nerf guns and likely wouldn't hold up to even a few shots of .22 rimfire. This doesn't mean they're useless, but we need to be aware of the limitations of the design and the materials. For those who prefer shooting paper or cardboard targets, there are a number of stencil designs. Once printed, grab a can of spray paint and we can create as many targets as desired. Another design, this one I found on Thingiverse, is for holding clay pigeons. It has a socket on the bottom for properly sized dowel, section of threaded rod, or similar support. I printed several of them and they worked well. As they cost only a few cents in filament, I'm not even very concerned about accidentally shooting the holder. For additional fun, I designed a smaller version to hold Ritz crackers. Unlike most commercial clays, crackers are both non-toxic and biodegradable. Plus, the fictional birds can help with cleanup. For various range tests, I like using more formalized targets fastened to some kind of stand. I usually make them out of 1x2 lumber held together with carriage bolts. I've tried a few different layouts of materials to assemble these prior to getting a 3D printer. Since then, I've designed a number of target stand components. Starting with foot stakes, the basic version is open at the sides and has a broad quatrefoil cross-section spike at the bottom, with a cross-pin hole for securing the target stand uprights. I also designed one specifically for 1x2s that's closed on the sides for a closer fit, but otherwise similar. Another design I'm still refining is brackets for assembling a target stand from lengths of 1x2 lumber. They enable attaching cross pieces to the uprights and also have a hole through the center for a nail or something similar to hold them in place. At the GOA Goals Expo last year, one of the vendors I visited was a company named Tack. They offer an innovative product for attaching targets to various materials such as cardboard, foam blocks, and corrugated plastic. Imagine an injection-molded oversized push pin with an extended serrated pin. I liked the idea, but being a 3D printer, I set my hand to designing something similar. While not as sturdy as the Target Tack product, mine does work pretty well. However, unlike many of my other designs, I will not be sharing this one. Doing so seems rude and dishonest to me anyway. Any listeners interested in this product should purchase them from Target Tack or design their own. Shooting should be fun. One way to make it more fun is by using interesting targets. 3D printing is an economical way to make that possible. Good printing and good shooting.
High into the right. High into the right. High into the right. Hit. Hit. Hit.
That about wraps up this segment. If you have any questions for me or suggestions for future segments or a comment on a past segment, please post them on the Assorted Calibers Podcast Facebook or MeWe pages and Aaron or Weer'd will make sure I see them. I'm also a contributor on the Blue Collar Prepping blog, which can be found at bluecollarprepping.blogspot.com. Finally, I'm a published author, and books with my stories can be found on Amazon under the names Brena Bock and David Bock. That's all for now. Thanks for listening. I'm David, and this is Gun Lovers and Other Strangers.
Now, see, listeners? I didn't lie. I wasn't wrong. He did 3D print COVID. Just little plastic models to shoot at.
David did not cause the dark times. But yeah, I saw the little self-healing target, and it reminded me. And John Correa from the Active Self Protection podcast had it as an advertiser for a while. And it was like a plate rack, but the plates were like a self-healing polymer. And the idea being that you would shoot them and the bullet actually passes through them, and then the friction would be enough to knock the plate down. And that meant that it wasn't, it was offsetting all the safety requirements that that you have with shooting steel, such as, you got to use either frangible ammo or have it be a certain distance apart, because when lead comes back off of steel plates are real fun until somebody starts bleeding, and then it's no fun.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and another one was, I think I asked David, and I think he wasn't sure, but I would think it'd be amazing if someone prints chronograph gates, because that's one of those things on a long enough timeline, you're gonna screw something up and shoot your chronograph gate. And most of the companies have, a program where you can, send the chronograph back, and they'll, for a nominal fee, put new gates on it. But wouldn't it be great if you could just go, fine, A new one will be printed in the morning.
I think you meant to say, wouldn't it be gate?
Aaron Paulette, I think it's time for you to go lay down.
Well, actually, Weer'd, what you wanted to tell me was to go lie down, because if you want to tell me to go lay down, then that would be me setting something down.
Don't know where to go from this, Aaron.
Well, do you know who knows where to go from this?
Our listeners!
Exactly.
Thank you for saving us from that bit, listeners. We appreciate you all, every single one of you. It is really wonderful to know that people are enjoying this show. But we got to give special thanks to our supporters on Patreon. So we go to Patreon, go to patreon.com/Assorted Calibers podcast and sign up. Patrons get an early release of the podcast, plus bonus content like our hilarious blooper reels, the ACP film tracks, and the ACB mag dump.
I mean, it's called a bricklayer, not a brick liar. Huh?
It is true.
Okay. Also, please remember to rate us on Apple Podcasts and Pocket Casts, subscribe to us on the platform of your choice, and share the show with your friends, both online and off.
And you get more from me at my blog, which is weerdworld.com. That's WEERD world.com. And you can hear me weekly on Handgun Radio on the Firearms Radio Network.
And you can get more from me at linktree/Aaron Paulette when I'm not dealing with the existential dread of the extinction of our species from stupidity. That's linktree.ee/Aaron Paulette, all one word.
And thanks to Nate Spencer for our music.
I'm not a liar, but he's certainly a layer. He has a child after all. Our conjugation is assorted, and so's our podcast. Good night, everyone.
Good night.